So we have a very special episode
Yeah,
today.
we do. Yes, we do.
And when we first started this podcast, I started sending messages to our guest, which is Joey Hemphill.
Yes, it is.
And we are thrilled to have you at the table. It took a while.
Well, I don't always answer my
I found that
messages
out.
right away. I don't know. I don't look at my phone as much as I
found
should
that
Which
out.
anymore.
that is good, probably.
But thank y'all for the invite.
Well, we're thrilled. One of the things that when Dave and I, how we started this, we have known each other for years, and we would get together at restaurants and have lunch. And of course, I know the business part, and he knows business too. But I'm the marketing, the
Right.
A&R, the sales guy, and he's this great publisher and an incredible songwriter.
Right.
We'd get together, just talk, and we'd end up telling stories about life on the road. Him with the Spears,
Right. Yeah.
me with the Rambos.
Some of my favorites.
some
of
of
my favorites.
I know.
Yeah.
And you guys, the Hemphills, were in that era
Right.
to me, which is
Yes.
one of the best eras of. I don't even like calling it Southern gospel. It's heart music. Your daddy, when you'd mention Dottie Rambo's name, they'd say, "Oh, Joel Hemphill, Bill Gaither, Lanny Wolf." Those four songwriters were always mentioned. And so, but we would talk, and we'd talk about different parts of the business that some people wouldn't talk about or didn't talk about. And we said, let's get guests on here that not just singers, songwriters.
Right.
And I think this is perfect that we have somebody that was a part of a
Yes.
legendary,
Yes.
award-winning family, that they went and did something totally different, but it still impacted the kingdom of God. But with what you guys did
We,
with the
we
buses
just
and
both
everything.
felt real strongly
Yep.
we don't want the stories to get
No.
lost.
Right. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
And, it's an honor to be here. We haven't spent a lot of time together, but I know you guys.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
follow you
Yeah.
and what you're doing. And, I love gospel music. I love God's music.
Yes,
And,
yes.
And
So today you called me and you texted and said, "Hey, you got a second to call?" And I thought, this is where he's going to back out.
No way.
Give me a hard time. So we got off the phone. We talked for about a few minutes just about, hey, is it, I told you to wear a suit and tie. That didn't work out so well. But I'm kidding. I got off the phone and I told my wife, I've known who you are since the early 80s.
right.
And that may be our longest conversation we've ever had. We've never been in the
I
same...
don't know why that's
Yeah.
been that way.
But
I mean,
is that right?
that is right. Yeah,
crazy.
yeah. But I
Yeah.
do follow your career, and God has blessed you both you men very much, and
We've been blessed.
I really
Yeah.
am proud of what you've accomplished
Yeah.
in music. And
We all three are pretty
Yes,
blessed to
yeah.
sit
we
here
are.
at our age and look back and say, God's been good all the way
He
through.
has.
Yes, he has.
He has.
Yes, he
Um,
has.
To the point, I'm pretty shy. Always have been. I've lost track of the times I've seen you. I'll even let you guess the restaurant, but I see you in Trent.
I was there today. I picked up lunch at Chef's
Chef's
Market
Market.
today.
Okay,
And-
that's so
yeah,
funny. Which
and,
I love.
and took lunch to my dad
Oh,
and spent some time with him
I
today.
love your daddy.
And we talked old stories. I mean, every time I'm with my dad, it's just the memories, and his memory I think is better than mine because he has
Wow.
great memories of
You should
being
have
on
brought
the
him
road.
with you.
Yeah.
Well,
We
we'll
need to get
we'll do
him-
that
yeah,
next time.
that'd
I
be
would
How about
love
great.
that.
We'd
Yeah.
love
I've
that.
never met your dad.
Oh, really?
Dave, are you
Wow,
serious?
Wow.
I never met Dottie Rambo. I never met
I know, which blows my mind.
But I was around those
yeah.
people.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, a funny story. I started out playing for a group called the Celestials.
Absolutely.
So I wasn't with them all that long, but we were one night at Springdale at
All night
Yes.
singing, the Springdale singing. Yeah.
yes, and you had just lost Bruce Watkins,
Right.
and Jimmy, the drummer for the Celestials, said, "Well, here we go. We're going to lose another player to the Hemphills," and I remember thinking, I don't think that would ever happen. I'd be a nervous wreck, and I wasn't all that good a player, I didn't think. And shortly after that is when you guys quit singing, and I got the job with the Spears,
Right.
and God's hand was in it. But I remember that season, you guys always had the best band, and I'm
Yes.
thinking,
Yeah.
Even if they called, I'm not near.
Well, I've heard you play. You could have done the job for sure. But
Well,
we did have some wonderful people with us on the road,
absolutely.
and some of the. I mean, still talk to a lot of them today. I don't see them often, but Eddie Bell and James Freeze and
Yep.
and all those guys.
Harold
And
Timmons.
Harold Timmons. When we first moved to Nashville in 1972, Harold Timmons was playing piano. He played piano. Dixie McKeithen, I don't know if you remember Dixie. Tim and Dixie were with us, and then she came off the road when she was expecting their daughter, and Harold took her place.
I didn't know that.
And he was with us quite a few years, and we'd sit on that bus and play rummy all day long.
That's so funny.
He loved
Seriously.
Yeah.
And he was the collector of all things.
Oh, he's an encyclopedia.
He
in
really
gospel
is.
music.
He is. Yeah.
Human.
Okay, so here's a funny Harold story. When I first moved here, I was 17. I wanted to be a writer. I could play a little bit, but I wanted to write. And in the little town in Michigan where I grew up, there was a little family-owned music store, and I started teaching guitar when I was 15 there. And the old man that owned it, he was a piano technician. So assuming that I would be the heir apparent, they trained me to tune pianos. So I come down here and I've got the black satchel that all the felts and the rubber. And I thought, I can tune pianos while I wait for a door to open as a writer. Who do you think the first person to call me to tune their piano?
Was it Harold?
It was Harold Timmons.
That's so
Wow.
funny.
My dad, this is a little bit of trivia. My dad tuned pianos in Louisiana. He got the little kit.
Yeah.
And, he would go and tune people's pianos. He was a minister, a preacher, pastoring a church, and kind of as a sideline, he would tune pianos. So it must be a songwriter thing.
It could be, but maybe he had a more successful career than I did.
Not in the piano tuning, I'm sure.
In my lifetime, I tuned one piano.
And that was Harold's?
And I said, I'm done.
That's it.
I love
That's
it.
I gave the kid away, and and the guy that had trained me, he was old school. He said, you never use a strobe, and that was the old. Yeah. And I said, why not? I said, is it inaccurate? And he said, no, but he said, I said, what if you don't have your tuning fork? And he said, well, wherever you're at, he said, if you listen closely, a fluorescent light will always hum a perfect B. I mean, he was that intense about it, and I was like, I'm not sure. I want to
now I'll have to check that when I hear fluorescent light.
I don't know if he was lying or not, but either way, I got out of the business pretty quick, and so you talked about coming from Louisiana. You were probably young enough or old enough to remember that move.
Oh, absolutely. We moved. I was 14 years old when we moved to Nashville from Bastrop, Louisiana. My mother's family was the Happy Goodman
Which
family.
people, I know they know that, but a lot of I always forget it. They were
so
cousins,
there
right?
were eight. No, there were eight brothers and sisters.
Okay,
the Goodmans: Howard, Sam, Rusty, Bobby, Eloise, Ruth, Gussie Mae. Gussie Mae was my grandmother, and Stella. Okay,
my gosh.
So the Goodmans kind of raised my mom.
Yeah.
In fact, Howard is the one that gave my mother away to my dad at the wedding.
Wow.
My grandfather couldn't be there, and then Rusty was my dad's best man at the wedding.
Wow.
That's okay.
And so I remember a day when my dad was talking to Uncle Howard about us moving to Nashville. And we were from this little town, Bastrop, Louisiana, 20,000 people at the most. And my Uncle Howard told him something that really stuck. And he said, Joel, he said, more things can happen for you in Nashville accidentally than can happen on purpose in Bastrop, Louisiana.
And that's still true.
And it really was true.
Yeah.
And so it was really a difficult decision. We uprooted our family, moved to Nashville, but it was the best thing we've ever done.
Do I remember that Howard bought your mom her first bike?
That's probably true. That's probably true.
Like when they had they called it like, it's either chicken or feathers weekend, or is that right?
They literally, I mean, it was that bad for the good ones. It was the good, and the bad, and it could be from one week to the next,
And when it was a good weekend, Howard would
They
generous.
were always very generous when they had money.
Yeah, that's funny. That's
Isn't that interesting?
That is.
I
had no idea.
remember. I remember when I was a little kid, my dad pastored this church in Bastrop, and I saw him out there cutting. He had laid out some wood and was cutting some plywood, not plywood, 2x4s. And I was just a little boy. I said, "Daddy, what are you doing?" He said, "Well, your Aunt Vestal and Uncle Howard are coming." He said, "I'm putting bigger slats in the bed."
Okay, that is the best. That is the best.
That's why we love to tell
I
the
love that.
So
I
that really
love that.
happened. I will
love
never
that.
forget that as long as I live. Yeah.
That's an awful visual.
But I think it's very true.
Yeah, but
so your granddad,
W.T. Hemphill, that was my dad's dad.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
and he was a pastor.
He was a pastor.
And the story I heard, now tell me if this is right, because sometimes I'll hear stuff that. So your dad was a guitar player, and your mom. Your mom was one of the Goodmans went through. They would break up, and then Rusty went on the road with Martha Carson or something, and and so for a while, the Goodmans kept reinventing when they go back out. For a while, it was Howard and Vestal and your mom.
It was, and I think Rusty was there. So it was Howard Vestal, Rusty, and my mom were doing revival work, and my mom was a young lady, and Sam was in the Army.
Right.
See, so they came and did a revival, a tent revival. They had a tent and they set it up, and the hurricane came through and blew the tent down, and so they moved it, I think, into the church. Well, then my mom and dad, they were young. They got married when they were 17 years old.
Wow.
So the story I heard is they had dated 6 weeks.
It's about 6 weeks. Yeah.
And he said, "Will you marry me?" And the quote I remember is, she said, "When?" "Yes, when?" And he said, "Friday." And he said to her, and tell me if I'm wrong, he said, "Will you make me banana pudding?" And she said, "Will you go fishing?"
That was their pact. That as long as she would make him banana pudding and he would take her fishing. The Goodmans, big fishermen.
Yeah.
They love to fish. If they weren't fishing, they were talking about fishing. All of them.
Interesting.
All of them. And so my mom got that. Honestly, I can still hear her catching a fish on the lake, and you could hear her all over the lake. I might be in another boat, and I could hear my mother, because she would get so excited catching a fish. So she loved it, and it came their family. It was just one of their things they loved.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that.
So then didn't they replace somebody related to y'all at that church in Louisiana? There was somebody that was leaving, and it seemed like your dad's dad came and met with your parents and said they want you as the replacement. Is that right?
As far as my dad now,
as your dad and mom going to that church in Louisiana as pastor, where they stayed for 10 years.
It was another church close to where my dad pastored. Okay. So my dad my grandfather pastored in West Monroe.
Okay.
Which is right there where the Robertsons,
Yep,
the Duck Dynasty.
Yep,
in fact, I got a second cousin married to Willie Robertson's daughter.
Okay, that's funny.
Anyway, went to the wedding. That's another story. But anyway, it's kind of cool. But my dad pastored about 20 miles from my grandfather. Bastrop, Louisiana. Yeah. And so my dad started writing songs. The church, there were maybe 100 people in the church, and he started praying. Mom and Dad started praying about wanting to reach more people. Yeah. And God started giving him these songs. And and he would call Rusty.
Rusty.
He'd
Yeah.
call
Oh,
Rusty,
man.
and one day Dad sent him a bunch of songs in the mail, just the handwritten lyrics. And Rusty called him and said, "Bubba, you didn't write these songs."
Yeah.
He said, "Yes, I did." He said, "Well, we're going to record them."
Yeah.
So they flew.
Wow.
They came to Nashville to be in the studio with the Goodmans recording.
Marvin Norcross was at
Marvin
that session.
Norcross, with Canaan
It's
Records.
RCA.
RCA, Studio B. I mean, all the big.
Yeah, everybody
yeah.
recorded there back in
And-
the country artists. Yeah.
So your mom said to Marvin,
Within 6 months, I predict you'll be recording an
us.
album for me and my husband. And she had never met the man before. My dad almost passed out in the floor.
And for those of you who are listening, Marvin Norcross is one of the very first A&R.
Yes,
exactly.
And
Canaan
Gene
Records.
for Canaan Records
right.
started it with
Right.
Gerald McCracken.
Right.
now, I never
Wow.
met Marvin, but when
yeah.
I did Canaan thing, I wanted to know about him because
Yep.
there were so many great stories that. So I called people who knew Marvin. I said, "What was your favorite lesson you learned from him, or what was your favorite?" And there's one quote that came out of those phone calls that has stuck with me to this day, and it was, well, Marvin used to say, "When meetings are up, sales are down."
Yeah.
And I have thought about that
Yeah.
so many times because you sit in a meeting, everybody's talking about it.
Yeah.
I'll get me out of the meeting. I'm gonna go
And
do
let's
it.
work.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's and with my brother and myself at our company when we started our bus company,
Yeah.
we limited our meetings because if
I
you didn't
love
have
that.
anything to contribute, don't come.
I love that.
That's
Because
great.
you can meet too much and not
Yes.
get anything done. So, but yeah, Marvin. So within 6 months, they recorded a duet album on Canaan Records, and then they had another one.
Yeah.
And then they started getting calls from all over the country to come and sing.
I may be way out on a limb here, but was that first record? Was it called Country Gospel?
Country gospel style of Joel
Yes.
and Labriska. Uh-huh.
And your mom had a song on there that she wrote.
Yeah, you better tell me which one that was. You're going way
I
back
mean,
now.
that
was about what, 1966, 67,
Yes.
maybe something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, I was a fan, and I'm a kid in Michigan who I felt like God had called me to write.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no direct path to get there.
Mm-hmm.
But I went upstairs and got something today to bring you that I thought
Okay,
you'd
all
get a
right.
kick out of that.
Oh my
Okay,
gosh,
okay,
this- I love this. What did you get?
So, like a lot of families, we would travel and sing in churches around the area.
You know what? I have actually seen a copy of this before.
That's so fun.
You may have.
I've sent you a copy. First song in side B is "I Found a Better Way,"
Yes.
written by Joel Hemphill.
Yeah.
That's so
Now,
funny.
Yeah.
Gospel
I
favorites.
obviously was a
So
pretty young kid,
Yes,
how
you
old
were.
were you at the time, Dave?
older than I look.
That looks like Sam all the way.
I was 14.
Wow.
And we played. It's
Found
the
a
reason
Better
I
Way.
only bring
that's
the
still
sleeve.
one of my favorites. I still love that song.
It's a great
I found a
song.
better way.
I will not bring the record anywhere where he is because I would.
I
not,
would, I would take it.
I don't want anybody to hear it.
Yeah.
But I was such a fan of the songs,
Yeah.
and that led me to be a student of the songwriters. So if I know too much, it's not that I'm a creepy stalker. Well, I might.
No.
be, but
you are.
I mean, I love it. I love the songs, and I love some of my dad's first songs.
yeah.
I remember when my dad got a call from Uncle Rusty. Now here we are in a small town of Louisiana. We didn't have the internet. We
Yeah,
didn't have,
right. Yeah.
they're just
Yeah.
doing their thing.
Yeah.
Mom and dad.
Yeah.
Mom, she's a preacher's wife and
Yeah.
raising 3 kids. And Uncle Rusty calls Dad and said Joel, your song "Pity the Man" is up for a Dove Award.
It's such a great
And he
song.
said,
what's that?
Dad said, "What's that?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't even know what the Dove Award was. And he said, well, at the time there were 5 songs
Yeah.
nominated.
Yep.
and he said, well, that's the industry awards, and so it didn't win, but Dad,
It's a great song.
it was a great song.
Yeah.
So the songs like "Pity the Man" and I mean he wrote so many hits for
The
you
Eyes
guys.
of Jesus. I don't know. I love
Yeah.
that
I need to
song.
go listen to that again. I
Do you
forgot
know where
about
I
that.
heard "Pity the Man" first? Bob Johnson. Do you remember that name?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
He was married to Jeannie Johnson.
Jeannie Johnson.
And Jeannie was with the Spears, and Bob was a bus driver.
Yeah.
And they would call Bob up every night, and that was a song.
I remember when Bob
Really?
and Jeannie would come up and sing.
Really?
He would sing with them.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So there's a funny story, and again, in the writer's mindset
Yeah.
of your dad, when he sent those first two songs to Rusty, he didn't hear back
Right.
for a few days.
Right.
Is this right?
It's probably right.
And
probably.
and so he's thinking they hated him, which is like every writer, including me, that I've ever met. You mail them, I want to know today.
Yeah.
Right.
And it turned out that they were out of town for the weekend. And then it got to where, so the story is, he plays "Pity the Man" for Rusty, and Rusty plays "Who Am I" for
Who
him.
am I? Yeah.
Wow.
Now
So
think about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what they would do, and I remember, my dad and Rusty spending hours and hours and hours on the phone with one another,
Yeah.
just singing songs that they had written, and that was just, as a little kid growing up,
priceless.
just it was priceless to
Yeah.
be able to
Yeah.
to have those memories.
Yeah.
I just, in my mind, I picture all these because back then all we had was the singing news.
Yep. Yep.
And there's days I still think that's all we have to
So
find out what's
I
going on.
idolized my Uncle Rusty, okay?
Yeah.
I mean, and I remember after he had gotten sick, he had been at our house for Christmas here in Nashville. They would come, he and Billy would come, and Tanya and Mike, different ones would come, not for Christmas Day, but she was always having gatherings, for Christmas, and I drove Uncle.
Your mom cooked for me and my
Oh,
wife
yeah.
several times at the McKeithans. I know
she could do it.
Yeah.
And I drove Uncle Rusty home one night, and he was already sick, and he said, "I have one regret." I said, "What's that, Uncle Rusty?" He said, "I always meant to write you a song, and I never wrote you a song." And I said, "Well, I would have sang it. I don't know how good a job." But he wanted to write me a song, and he just never got around to it. And that was very special to me.
Yeah.
But you were around because of the Goodman influence, and you were around a lot of music, and even when you come to Nashville. I'm trying to remember the story. Didn't you end up like at Evangel Temple going to school?
Temple School. Yeah.
And Harry Yates was a principal.
Harry Yates was my principal, a teacher. Joanne, was Johnny Cash's sister. We would go to the house. They had a farm. Cash had a farm in at Bon Aqua, Tennessee.
Right.
We'd go down and hang out on the farm, and so I was around. I mean, Johnny Cash would come to our school and do chapel service.
Wow.
We went to that school because we could travel, and then when we were home, go.
Yeah.
I was homeschooling before homeschooling
was
cool.
a homeschool. That's
But we've talked to a lot of that next generation of kids, and Brian Spear, he was the best man at our wedding. He's still one of my best friends in the world, but he went to Whispering Hills School down in South Nashville, and it was the same kind of deal. Stonewall Jackson's kid went there. They had a lot of singers' kids, and they were flexible. They understood.
Right.
But we met Harry and Joanne in an ER, and
really?
I ended up in the hospital for something in the emergency room, and there was a curtain,
Yeah.
and they were on the other side of the curtain, and we get to talking, and I knew enough of the family to go, oh my stars, and I was a huge Cash fan. So
yeah.
But you got to. He was the principal of that school.
Yeah, my dad was on the school board with Johnny Cash. He would go to the house.
No.
Mom and Dad would go sit with Johnny and June, and talk about our school that had 80 students. Okay,
Oh my God.
Isn't that awesome?
Well, I remember my
it was-
first quartet convention was at the Municipal Auditorium, and
Yeah.
I had met the Rambos, of course, and I'd worked for them,
Mm-hmm.
but I had never met Howard, Vestal. Rusty was really sick, but your mom and dad, I'd never met them. But I knew that was gospel royalty because I knew enough.
Yes.
I'd bought their records. And,
Yeah.
and I remember we were at the quartet convention, and Dottie had to leave early. She was just in the beginning stages of her back severely. So
Oh, she had a
She'd
lot of-
come for a couple of hours, and she loved your daddy and
Mhm,
Labriska,
yeah.
and she loved Rusty. And I remember we walked over, and Buck said, "Let's go over and just say hi to Rusty, and I'll introduce you, him and Labriska and Joel, because Vestal and Howard already left." And so we got over there. I'll never forget your mom. Even just she took an endearing to me. She was so precious to me, and just your dad. And I thought I'd met the president, but Rusty. Labriska was going to see Dottie the next day and take her some banana pudding.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And Buck and Rusty was really sick. He was sitting on the couch. I'll never forget this. And Rusty said, "Lean down here, Labriska." He said, "Lean down here." And he kissed Labriska on the cheek. And he said, "You make sure you give that to Dottie tomorrow."
Oh my goodness.
And I'm telling you
That
what,
puts chills on me.
I'm
right
telling you
now.
what, it
Yeah.
was one of the most special.
Yeah.
And I thought, at that point, that's that legacy of these people who love and respect.
I
each
remember
other.
when my dad had colon cancer back in about
92.
1990, 1 or 2. And,
Sorry.
yeah,
Look
no,
at you.
no.
He-
And then after that, he went through some severe depression.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
he
remember.
kind
I know.
of
Yeah.
crashed and burned
Yeah.
for a while,
Yeah.
and a lot of people tried to pray. We
Yep.
prayed with him,
Yep.
we talked with him, and I remember the day that Dottie called my dad,
Yeah.
and it meant so much to
I
him.
got. I know all about. I was there. Yeah.
And so those are things,
Yeah.
like you say, where people care
Yes.
about one
Oh,
another, want
absolutely.
to lift it. It's
Yeah.
not just for show.
No.
You know, it's all
In
it's-
those early days of the quartet convention, the early ones, and even I mean it happens now too, but I remember you'd walk by these artist booths like the Hemphills, or the Canaan booth, and
Yeah.
you'd see these artists just hanging with each other, sitting on the sofas,
Yeah,
talking,
yeah.
and just loving on each other. And I thought that was some of the
we
coolest.
genuinely cared about one
you
another.
did.
You
It's
know.
a-
You did.
You know the singer Lardell Harris.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
He's as close as I've got to a brother, and he and his
Mm-hmm.
wife are godparents to our kids. And he told a story about the day that he lost his mom, and he said, "I still don't know how she found out or how she got my number." But he said, it wasn't an hour from the time I lost my mom that Vestal called him
Yeah.
on his cell and said, "I just wanted you to know I'm praying for you."
Yeah.
Wow.
And what that meant to him. And again, he's not the high profile
Right,
guy.
right.
You got to know where he is to
Right,
find him.
Right.
I remember a time with my brother and myself, and early in our business,
Yeah.
and we were going through a thing. We were in the right, but we were going through a thing in the state of Tennessee that if it had gone the other way, it would have put us out of business.
Yeah.
Okay,
Wow.
it was a tax related thing,
Mm.
and she didn't know what we were dealing with, my Aunt Vestal.
Yeah.
So my brother and I were pretty stressed out. This is the time we were on the road
Yeah.
doing gospel music and
Doing
in
the-
the bus business. And so we were working 7 days a week, either on the road or doing that. And I remember a day that my Aunt Vestal called me. She said, "I don't know what you're going through,
Wow.
but God has just shown me that it's all going to be all right."
Yeah.
She was the
Ooh.
real deal.
She was. Yeah.
And
Anybody
you know
you talk
what?
to. Yeah.
It was no time.
Yeah.
It got resolved.
It got resolved
Yeah.
in our favor.
Yeah.
And but
Yeah. I don't care who the dispute's with. I want her on my team.
Me to you and me both.
Exactly.
You and me both.
exactly.
You said something I want to go back to. I never got to see the Rambos with a band. I got to see them with tracks and everything. I did. I didn't get to see a lot of. I was in that industry, but I was always doing the other parts of it.
Right.
But I remember I saw the Hemphills at least 2 times with the band. James Freeze, I think, was there. And, but I remember in Kansas City, and I had become friends with Candy, and I knew your mom and dad, and I met you. And I remember we all went to a water park in Kansas City. I remember that. And I remember we had the greatest time, but I remember when they got up with the band, and I thought, okay, this is just like the record.
Yeah.
Because, at that point I'd heard tracks and you'd heard piano players. But
sometimes I go, was it really that good, or am I just in my mind?
It really
and then I will go back and hear.
Yeah.
I will go back and see some TV.
Yeah. Oh
things.
my goodness. Yeah.
And you're right. It
was incredible. It was incredible.
So, my first record that I really remember. I mean, I had heard some of the earlier stuff, but like one Family Live.
Yeah,
like 75 maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. That was at a church in Alabama.
It started with an L.
Oh wow!
Dave,
I need my dad now.
Yeah.
You know what? Okay, hold on. Give me a second. It was Christian Congregational Church.
Yeah.
And it was a Sunday morning.
Yeah, it was.
And they did everything, if I remember right, they did everything except check the piano to be tuned.
Yeah, it's true. And it was out of tune.
And it was out of tune.
Yeah.
And it was out of tune, and they had to go back and fix the piano parts in the studio.
And I think that's when Candy first sang.
Yeah.
And she sang "I Came on Business for the King."
Oh,
and she was like 14 years old. 13 years old.
he studies this out. That's so.
I can get around.
You're exactly
I'm here
right.
for you.
Okay. So
she went back and recut that later. Again.
Yeah.
But that was her. I think she was 13, maybe.
Yeah, but you know what? She had not sang that much.
No.
She had never really sang that much. I mean, I remember when I went from playing drums till
in 6th grade, right?
Yeah. And my dad then, I would sing along while I was playing the drums.
Yeah.
Well, I remember one day I was waken up by my parents going, "You're it.
This is it.
This is it. You're going to be singing now."
That's so funny.
And Tim has decided to quit and go on
Tim
his
was
own.
on that record, though.
He was on that record. He was on that record, but I'm just saying. I remember it wasn't like I was singing,
but
I was tapped on the shoulder, and it's like, and it wasn't long. I was recording, and I had a lot to learn, but it was.
But that was it was
just
that
thrown
record was an amazing record.
Yeah,
there were so many great songs on there.
Yeah.
And
And
it was,
Bruce is on there, right?
Yes,
Bruce Watkins,
yes.
yeah.
and your mom, I think, had a song in there that she'd written. Is that right?
You're going to have to help me.
Bruce played mandolin behind it or something on the intro.
Dave, you know what? You sure you weren't in my group?
He may have been. He probably was hiding back there.
No, but that was such a great record.
It was
good.
It was.
And we read liner notes back then too.
Yes,
we all read liner notes.
But Rambo's had done a live. It was a double LP.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Live in Nashville.
And Spirit. I mean, that was
the big thing.
But you guys found your niche, and the more Candy sang, you had a sugar stick.
We did, yeah.
But I watched how you would work that. Your dad a lot of times would sing the verse, and then Candy would come out.
We never had a bass singer in our group.
No.
So the way we'd kind of sing the same parts, some, and it was just a family singing, singing gospel music, but
good.
Candy,
Man.
she could carry the load a lot of times when.
So here's what I think about with her vocals, and I hope she doesn't hear this, and if she does, you tell her I was being nice when I said it. But like if you listen to "I Came on Business," the second cut, or "Consider the Lilies," by the time the first line ends, she's been all over the melody.
She's taking it to him.
And that was her style.
Yeah, it
and
was.
I think about now how they'll grab it and try to tune the vocal. That would have driven them nuts trying to.
Yeah.
But she did that, and it was
and it made it
trademark.
work.
Yes.
It was. People loved.
She
I
owned
mean,
it.
Yeah, it was different than anybody else in the
And then,
industry at the time.
As soon as it hit the chorus,
Yep.
she was locked in
Yep.
right in the
With
middle of
family.
the pitch.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Because the harmonies were there.
Mm-hmm.
But boy, like you go back and listen to Consider the Lilies
Oh.
or something, and before the first line's over, she had owned that, and I don't even know how to describe it.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it was nowhere near worried about here's where the melody is. I got to stay
No.
right on it.
Yeah.
The
She's
Hemphill-
just a natural
she-
singer. She's a natural.
that first record of hers in a
Yeah.
different light. Jerry Crutchfield produced
Yeah.
it, who had produced Barbara Mandrell and numerous.
Okay, what
and
was Jerry's biggest record that
Please
he
come
produced?
to Boston, probably.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Kenny Loggins, Please Come to Boston, but there was one bigger.
God bless the USA.
No,
He
I
produced
did
Lee
not
Greenwood.
know that.
Yeah, yeah.
But I remember when I got that record because I was such a huge Hemphill fan because I loved family groups. I loved.
I
the
did too.
Spears,
I loved the Spears.
Rambos.
Yeah.
It was just great. It was family. I loved that. But when I got Candy's, I can remember where I bought it. I bought it at a Sears in Galveston, Texas. They used to have a music racks.
Yeah.
And I remember taking it home and thinking, Candy, I mean, because she was such a star with the Hemphills.
Yeah.
But this took her to a whole new place.
Yeah.
Those songs, I've said to her over and over, we need to re-release that record. 'Cause
Yes.
it is some of those songs.
Yeah.
So they used to
And
say,
she wrote most of those
I know.
songs. Yeah.
I know.
especially on her second record, which came out in what, 84?
Which was that Master
Billy
of the-
Smiley
what-
produced
was-
it.
Oh, Billy, yeah.
I
From
did
Whiteheart.
that. Yep.
Yeah.
And
yep.
I think she wrote like 6 of the songs.
Was
on
that the
there
one that
with
had
it.
Master of the Wind on it?
No.
No, that
I
the
don't
second
think so.
one was
84 was the same year you guys released Together,
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that's right.
and
yeah.
Wayne Hilton and
Yeah.
Trent
Yeah.
produced that.
Yeah, we had some great producers.
you
we
did.
had,
But
Yeah.
you switched a lot.
we did. I don't know why that happened, but we did,
Yeah.
and I mean,
It worked.
it worked. We had some. I remember the day I went to my grandparents' home in Louisiana. I drove all night to get there, and Mom and Dad were staying there. And I get in the house. They leave the door unlocked, and I get in the house, and I walk into the kitchen, my grandma's counter, and I see these handwritten lyrics laying on the countertop, and I start reading them. My mom and dad are already in the bed, and he's still working on me.
Wow.
Yeah,
And he had just
God.
written that song, and I'm like, I didn't even know the melody.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is a hit.
All the way.
And I woke up,
look at it.
and they woke up the next morning, and I said, Dad, did you write this? He said, yeah, son. He said, it's just a simple little song. And I said, Dad, this is a hit.
Yeah.
And Jerry
Wow.
Crutchfield
Yeah.
produced that.
Yeah.
Eight, 8 months
8 months
that
on
stayed
singing
number
news.
one on
Yeah.
singing
I
news.
do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. And for like the first few months, we weren't even touring. You
Yeah.
know, we'd take the
Yep,
winter months
yep,
off.
Yep.
So for the first few months that it was on
But
the
there
tour.
were so many. The thing, your dad, when he wrote, I've heard him like on interviews where he'll dive headfirst into theology, and
Yeah,
you go,
He's very,
that's some heavy stuff.
Yeah, it is.
But when he wrote, he didn't write that way.
No.
He didn't, and he didn't try to. Some writers sound,
Yeah.
they try to write like they're sounding like a songwriter.
Yes.
He didn't do that either.
No.
Yeah.
He wrote, and lines like don't wait for the judgment to give the Lord your heart. It wasn't raining when
Yep,
Noah
yep,
built the
yep,
ark.
Noah built the ark.
Yep,
And
yep.
They
Yeah.
were just those simple little lines. That,
Yeah.
and who would have dreamed that He's Still Working on Me would be a kid's song?
And that people still sing today.
But that,
Well,
that whole record working was a great.
yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Dad, he still gets from all over the world.
Yeah.
I'll bet.
He gets people reaching out to him,
Yeah.
going, I grew up
Which,
in the Sunday school singing your song.
Yeah.
yep.
He's still
I
working on
love
me.
it.
So-
But everybody was writing back in those days. Candy, she wrote a song called Nothing Less Than Wonderful.
Mhm.
It was at 77, 78 maybe. That I just
Yeah.
remember thinking, that's just a great song.
I didn't write many songs. I wrote a few. I wrote a song called Never a Man Spake Like This Man
Yes.
that my mother recorded, and it wasn't really a single. It went to number 5,
I remember that.
and I'm like, this is easy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I never had another one.
Here's a
You got-
trivia question for Dusty.
I'm not going to get it.
All right, I think the record was Together in 84,
Uh-huh.
and you wrote a song with one of my best friends
Yeah, Dale Matthews.
Called
Okay.
The Sun Will Rain.
Sun is gonna rain.
Sun is going to rain.
Dale, I did not know Dale.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
wow.
And so Dale was one of my good friends, and I gave him an idea. I said, this is kind of a
Okay.
catchy idea. The sun is going to rain, you know. And so he kind of started the song, and then when I got to his house later, we finished the song.
Okay, what a small world. I worked
awesome?
with Dale at Word for years, too.
And nobody
That's so
knows
funny.
Dale as a piano
No.
player.
Oh, he's a really he played
At your wedding,
he
right?
played at my wedding with some
Really?
men. Yeah, he played at my wedding. Yeah,
Oh,
he's a
my-
great piano player.
Wow.
And just one of the most
Yeah.
gentle guys.
See, he was with his family, the Matthews.
Okay.
And,
They were on Benson.
yeah, John Matthews actually booked my family when he was with Sumar Talent. He was a booking agent for Sumar before his family went on the road.
Which was Don
So,
Butler.
yeah, Don. Yeah, and it was right there. It was right there on Music Row,
Yeah.
right beside the Spear.
2 doors down.
Two doors down
Oh,
from the
my
Spear
gosh,
Spear
that's
building.
so
Yeah.
funny. I had no
And-
idea. That is so funny.
I
That's-
get more grief for knowing useless
you
information.
do. You do.
Here's one that I was talking to someone about the other day. So we're still living in Louisiana, and we're in the 62 flexible bus.
Right.
It's a 35-foot bus that we bought from the Blackwood brothers in 1969. Okay, and so we get called to go to Washington, D.C. and sing at Constitution Hall, and I think the Spear family may have been there, but I do remember Big Lou and the Prophets were there that
That's
night,
so
and
funny.
some other groups were there. Well, we didn't get to look around D.C. We're from Louisiana. We'd never been to D.C. and we didn't get to look around beforehand. And so after the concert, we load the bus. It's about midnight.
Yeah.
Dad said, "Let's just go to all the monuments and look around." So the driver's driving, and we get to the White House. Okay. Well, back then you could drive
Yes.
in front of the White House. Well, lo and behold, the gates were open.
No,
Dad
you
said,
didn't know.
"Whip in."
No.
We literally pulled that bus right in front of the White House steps. I'm telling you,
Oh my God!
it's a circle drive.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
The gates are on both sides. I have a
Okay.
feeling we're the only bus that
That
has ever been.
Did anybody come out? Did
Oh,
the
did they
security and everything? I'm sure they did.
Did they come out?
Oh my gosh!
Yes, absolutely. People came. I mean, they came out of the trees. They came.
Oh my
What
God!
are you doing? Who told you could put this bus here?
That is great.
Oh,
Dad
my
said,
God.
well, the gates were open. We just want to see it.
The Beverly Hillbillies.
Yeah, with the Beverly. And so
That's-
they
that's
said,
so
well, you got to get it out of here.
I
So
think
we,
that's an episode of Beverly
Yeah.
Hillbillies.
Yes,
I think
it-
it's
I
Yes.
literally, we got to build buses for the president later,
Yeah.
and I got to tell the Secret Service that story.
I
They said
bet.
we probably changed the policy for just
Probably
because
so.
of y'all.
Y'all were there at the White House lawn with Carter, right?
Mom and Dad were.
Okay.
We had a concert we couldn't get out of, and so they went and did
I just
did that.
remember
Yeah.
seeing
I
their
remember seeing their
pictures.
picture there too.
They went
Yeah.
and did that. I didn't get to go to that, but we actually built some buses, my brother and
Yeah.
I, for the Secret Service fleet, and so
So let's talk about that a little
Yeah.
bit, because when your family they made this huge splash and all these great records, and Home Cooking was just one of the
yeah,
best
yeah.
records ever.
And they always had such great covers. I always think they were bright and vivacious,
Yeah, yeah.
but they told the story of a song on it.
Right,
That's what I
right.
loved
Yeah.
about it.
But Home Cooking, that seemed like that was a turn. You could almost feel you had more ownership. I think Phil Johnson was executive producer. Is that right?
he actually produced. He may have produced that record too.
But was it
or
Trent?
no, you know what? The that's the one where the Trent and the band,
Yes.
our band played on that
Okay.
record. Okay, yeah.
And
Uh-huh.
who's the piano player? Gary.
Gary Smith.
And
He
his
was
brother
amazing.
played for the Hemphill, or
No, for the
Goodmans.
the Goodmans, Jack Smith, and they're both deceased now. And Gary went on to work with Barbara Mandrell. He worked with Ricky Skaggs.
They two brothers. They both
Yeah.
died the same year, didn't they not?
I think so.
2014.
And yeah. But the young guys,
Yes.
when we hired Gary, he was 18 years old.
Wow.
And I mean, he was a genius.
Wow.
So let me ask you this, because the story I heard, wherever I hear stories, I don't know.
I hope I remember this.
So, hoppers are a great example too of the boys that Dean used to play drums, then he played bass, then he was a frontline singer, and you and Trent did that. But at some point, someone told me he was playing bass that he just decided he was going to buy himself a grand piano and learn to play.
He sold his 84 Trans Am. By then he had moved into a Corvette. He had a Corvette. Trent had a 84 Corvette. He sold that car and bought an old Oldsmobile so that he could buy a grand piano.
No.
He bought a brand new Kauai grand piano, and he quit doing anything other than playing that piano, and learned to play. We were having a hard time keeping good piano players, and he just said, "I'm going to do this," and I mean.
And he pulled it off.
He pulled it off. He played until we retired from the road.
Now I've never met Trent, but I remember when we'd watch him, because I'd heard that story, and he played all the licks and they were right in the pocket, but he always looked down.
Oh
at the
yeah,
keys.
yeah.
Right?
He did.
So
yeah,
fun.
yeah. He filled the need, and he was determined, and I was his business partner in business,
Sure.
and his determination was something I've never seen anything like. When he put his mind to something, it's still to this day. If he puts his mind to something, he's going to accomplish it.
Wow.
And
let's talk a little bit about the bus thing, because
I'd love to know. Yeah, I'd love to know how it.
So the story
transitioned. You probably know a lot of this. I don't.
story I heard. Now tell me if this is right.
mm-hmm.
Here we go.
It's a little game we play on the show.
Yeah.
That your dad had your bus, but somewhere in Atlanta, he heard about a bus for sale that somebody, so he bought it, but then then he leased it to somebody or something. He sold it, but they didn't make the payments.
They didn't make the payments. So what happened? There was a little gospel group. I can't remember their names. They had an old scenic cruiser bus, and the mother got sick, and so my dad said, "I'll buy your bus to help them."
Yeah.
And maybe to turn around and sell it, and make a little money.
Yeah.
In gospel music, you kind of had to do a little bit
of everything.
This, everything.
Yeah.
And so he sold the bus to a bus leasing company. Supposedly, he sold it. They said, we'll take it and show it to our partners, and then if we like it, we'll pay you for it. Well, Dad, he's a minister, gospel singer. He trusts them. Okay.
Yeah.
He didn't see the bus again ever.
Oh my God.
And so it was on a tour with a group called Rufus and Shaka Khan in Nashville.
Yep.
Dad went down to the judge and said, "That's my bus. I've got the judge said, "Do you have the title to it?" He said, "Yes." He said, "Well, go get it. It's yours."
He paid the repairs.
Yeah, he paid the repairs, but they had totally remodeled the bus, repainted it. And so Rufus and Shaka Khan, they're out on tour, and they're like, "What are we going to do for a bus?" And they called Dad, said, "We need this bus." And Dad said, "How much does it pay?" And they told him. He said, "How many do you want?"
So he immediately was in the
bus business, and this was 1974. And so we were in gospel music, but he got in the bus business. He never really liked that business. He built his fleet up to like 9 buses, and it was just a sideline to the music.
Yeah.
And then when he decided to get out of it, Trent and I said, "Dad, I was 21, he was 20. We're like, will you just, give us your Rolodex and help us get a. He had 2 buses that he couldn't sell. They were 1965 models. This was 1980. And he said, son, I'll co-sign a note for you for $50,000 and loan you $500, and you can get in the bus business. And here's my Rolodex. And so that's how we got in the bus business.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I picture like my kids at our house have grown up talking about who wrote what song and copyrights. I picture dinner at the Hemphill house talking about buses. Is that?
Well, yeah,
I mean,
it was between, but we still talked about gospel music and songs.
Yeah.
And
But even if he didn't particularly love the bus thing, he had gained a lot of insight into business.
Oh, he
sense.
was doing in 1976. He did the Wings Over America tour with Paul McCartney.
No.
And Trent and I are sitting. We're in bed, and we shared a bedroom, and he had a twin bed. I had one over here, and we're watching TV one night, and there's our buses on, TV. And we get up and we go in Mom and Dad's room and wake Dad up and said, Dad, your buses are on TV with Paul McCartney. He said, son, I'm sleepy. I want to go back to bed.
Wow.
And so he didn't care. He didn't really care much for that business, but it was a good sideline business for him.
And so you guys take that, but then you built it. How many did you have? You sold that, right? You don't have that anymore.
No, we had we sold it. We became the largest in the industry.
Yep.
That's what I thought.
And did buses for
43
everyone.
for everybody. I mean,
James Taylor.
Sandra Bullock.
When I
the Jacksons, Barack Obama.
When
you name it.
Yeah, when I look at when you Google.
Yeah.
And there again, I'd heard so much. It amazes me the actors, the actresses, the presidents that you guys did buses for.
And I would get calls. I'd get these strange calls. I remember one night we were doing the Motley Crue and Kiss tour. Okay, and I get a call. Tommy Lee has bought $1,000 worth of fireworks, and he has no place to set them off. He's the drummer for Motley Crue. And they're like, can you meet him tonight after the show? And would it be okay if he did fireworks at your place? And so I said, yeah, I'll meet him down there. So after the show, they all pull up at our shop. And me and him get out there and shoot fireworks till like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning.
Unbelievable.
So have you written a book on all the stories of?
No.
Okay, so tell me if this is true. That at the bus garage, y'all had a pet lion?
We did have a pet lion. Yeah.
We
raised an African lion. Yeah.
I knew this.
So I had lunch today with Gene McDonald, and I told him I was going to talk to you. He said, ask him about the lion.
Well, this is much
your dad.
when I was much younger. Dad, we kind of grew up together, Dad and me. He was young, and so we talked Dad into buying a lion. Okay, so
I've heard this.
We get this lion.
A lion.
He grew into a full.
And he'd just wander around the shop.
Yeah. And so I remember Jerry Crutchfield was producing a album for Terry Bradshaw. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Terry Bradshaw was doing a Christian album.
It was either Benson or Wood.
Yeah, and
one of them.
So Jerry wants to bring him out to see the lion. And Terry had just won his 4th Super Bowl. And so Terry comes out, he throws me and Trent a couple of passes, which is the coolest thing. He was still with the Steelers, okay?
Absolutely.
And so I had Samson chained out. He wasn't in his cage. That was a lion. And I had him chained out to a tree in the grass, and we walk around the corner, and I'd given him a little plastic trash can to chew on. He liked to chew on just anything. And so we walk up to him, and my mother says, Terry, I dare you to take that away from him. Well, she didn't think he would really do it. And he just reaches down with his passing hand. and starts
No.
tugging on this trash can. Well, the lion turns loose the trash can and grabs his hand. Okay, and Terry, he didn't jerk back. He just said, "Boy, you got my whole future in your mouth," and my whole family are going, "You've got our future in your mouth."
Unbelievable.
So he pulled his hand out and it had a few little marks on it. But,
my gosh.
There's a story about somebody that had a cat around their.
oh yeah,
Oh my God, Dave.
you've heard this story.
No, I
so,
haven't.
So this is.
I just know the cat was.
So
never
I don't
heard
know
from.
if you know who Charlie Leuven is.
Yeah.
Charlie
Yeah,
Leuven, Ira and Charlie,
Yeah.
and so they were friends of our families. Okay, so
Satan lied to me.
so Charlie, he's there and he sees the lion. He's asked my dad. He said, Joel, he said, do you mind if I go back to Hendersonville and get my little cat and bring him to see this lion? Dad said, well, Charlie, I don't care, you know. And so Charlie gets in his car and he drives all the way out here to Hendersonville and back. And as soon as he goes around the corner, that cat takes one look at that lion and he starts clawing over Charlie and jumps over his head and runs out into the woods. And he never saw that cat again.
That's
literally.
I heard
It
that
really
story.
happened. And he had to have 7 stitches put in his leg.
No. That is
It's
so.
the saddest thing.
Wow.
Really happened.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Wow.
This is crazy.
Oh my gosh.
So I mean, gosh,
You're not going to play all this, right?
absolutely.
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
we
yeah,
are. Oh, yes,
yeah. I wish we had about 3 more hours.
Okay. Yeah.
This is just fascinating.
it is. Did you? What made you decide to get out of the bus? Just, I know, because it was a huge,
Yeah.
huge operation.
You know,
And it was
after
big news here in Nashville.
Yeah.
COVID had to have hit you guys.
Yeah.
Well, it did, but it came back with a
Yeah.
vengeance.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
my brother and I knew that we didn't lose any clients.
Yeah.
They just couldn't tour.
Right.
So COVID didn't really hurt us that
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
You know, we had a business for a long time, so it was
Built
still a
up.
stable
Wow.
business.
One of the
okay?
top businesses. Yeah.
And but we did say to one another, you know, if this thing when this thing comes back, it's going to come back very strong.
Yeah.
And when it does, let's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
get out.
Yeah.
And it's time. After 43 years
I
in the
know.
bus business,
Which is crazy.
I had
when you
worked
think about that.
professionally since I was 12 years old.
Yeah.
And it was just time
Yeah.
to do
But you-
other things.
But
Yeah.
you guys, you carried Southern Gospel into the coach business too. I mean, some of your drivers, because when we first started this, I said someday
Yes.
we'd love to do an episode of bus drivers because they've got all the stories,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
they can't tell them.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, they can't. No.
But there are ways that we could. But I started thinking about even the drivers that you had there, Mark Spear,
Yeah.
Rabbit Easter. Did he?
That's
he
how
work
we
for-
built. That's kind of how we built our business. We knew people that we trusted,
Yeah,
and
you're
I
great.
mean Terry Ford, Steve
Yes.
Hoker,
Oh,
Mark
yes.
Larson.
Yep.
You
Yeah.
know, Valerie Bell.
Yep.
You mentioned
yeah.
Eddie earlier.
Eddie,
his wife Valerie worked
His
for you.
wife Valerie. Yeah, Crystal.
Love
Yeah, she
Crystal.
was mine and my brother's assistant.
Love
so
Crystal.
we depended. We knew these people, and you can't find better
No,
people
I
than
totally-
people
yeah.
in gospel music.
Yeah.
And so we would hire our friends to come work for us,
Yeah.
and it was great. I mean, it was like a big family. It
Yeah.
really, Bear Jones, Ron
Yeah.
Bear Jones.
Yep, yep.
He came out of the Goodman's church,
Yeah.
and you know, so he was with me and my brother for 40 years till he passed away from COVID. So
Wow.
you know, it was a great career.
Wow.
Yeah.
This has been absolutely incredible. And you know what? If you ever have a day where you think your dad would come sit down with us, we would love
I think
that.
he would love
I
this.
would love
think
to
he
have your
would.
dad.
And,
Yeah. Your mom and dad are so. Your mom just.
I
Was
miss her.
great.
I
know
miss
you
her
do.
every day.
I know you.
I
That
was-
smile.
She
I could
never
see
got
that
the
smile.
credit she deserved
no,
for the
she didn't.
powerhouse
Yeah,
singer
yeah,
she was.
yeah. But
well, she didn't
was,
really care.
No.
She loved
She loved people.
people.
And she
She
loved
did.
Jesus.
But you know what? The story I heard that when you guys disbanded the group, that it was Candy had been married 2-3 years, and she was going to start traveling with her husband, and
Right.
and you said that you wanted to be near your kids, and I remember thinking the story that your mom grew up with, where her dad was here and her mom was here, and she was living here, and she had to get that.
we didn't really want that. And I didn't want to raise a family on the road.
Yeah.
And a lot of people do that, and it works out fine. But I didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
And we didn't want, once one of us quit, we felt like it was time to go on and do something else. So.
It was an amazing season that you had, and Candy. They used to say Mama Spears sang with a tear in her voice, and Candy sang with a dimple in her cheek. I mean, you could almost hear the smile in her. It was just a subtle thing, and the songs. Your dad just kept coming up with great tunes, and I'd love to meet him sometime just as a friend.
We'll make that happen.
Precious.
You guys worked with some wonderful people, the Rambos, and the
We've
Spear
been
family.
very
The
blessed.
Spear family were some of our favorites.
Yeah.
My mother and Faye Spear were friends before they ever married.
That's so.
They grew up on knowing one another before my mother ever married.
One of our interviews we did was with Bob Clark. And it's the only interview, to my knowledge, he's ever done. And he talked about, he had a couple of great lines about the Hemphills. You remember for all the great circle days, he was the engineer.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
But
Are
he
y'all
said-
friends? I mean, are you not friends?
Yes.
Are you related? That's
No,
what I want to know.
no,
Yeah,
not that I'm aware of.
yeah.
But Bob said, he was talking about all the records they did. He worked
the
7
best.
days a week.
Some of the best records.
And he said, he talks real slow. He said, the Hemphills, he said, it didn't matter if it was a ballad or an up-tempo song, always the same time, 3-minute song. It was like,
He did, yeah.
Just so funny. But he also said something about the Spears and the Hemphills. I said, I remember Spears bought you a leather coat one time just to say thank you. And he said, all the years and all the records, there were only 2 people that ever bought me a gift. He said, one was the Spears bought me that coat. He said, Hemphills brought me some hunting thing from Louisiana that, and he still remembered that last year.
So funny.
Wow.
Which speaks
He
very
was a
well.
great engineer. He
Great.
was.
He still is.
He always put his heart into
Yeah.
that. So
Well, this has been
been-
awesome. This is why
we love to tell
we
the
love to tell the
stories.
story. And thank you
Joey,
so much
wow.
for driving out. And
Yeah.
thank you for helping me remember some of this.
It's so
stuff.
good.
Yeah, so-
What a legacy.
Well, thank
what
you.
a
Thank
legacy. And you got your family.
This has been great.
Well, we've
Yeah.
been blessed,
Yes,
and thank y'all for letting me
This
be
is
here.
great. I love this.